Hari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Yashoda Nandana Vraja Jana Ranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Vishnupada Paramahansa Privrāja Kacharyastu Tarasata Śrī Śrīmād, His Divine Grace of Higher Charanaravinda Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Privrāja Kacharyastu Tarasata Śrī Śrīmād, His Divine Grace Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se Kaho Śrī Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Śrī Advaita Gadadhara Śrīvasati Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Śrī Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shyama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. Harinam Sankirtana Ki Jai. ISKCON Vrindavan Yatra Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the lotus feet of Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswating Vyasang tato jayam mudirayet nashtaprayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati nayashtiki idam bhagavatam nama puranam brahma samhitam uttama shloka charitam chakara bhagavan rishi nikshayasaya lokasya tanyam swastenam mahat. Hare Krishna. So today we're continuing reading from chapter 52, canto 10, entitled Rukmini's Message to Krishna. And we have several verses today. Let's do the first one responsively. It's the text number 24. Tang buddhi-lakṣaṇaudārya Tang buddhi-lakṣaṇaudārya rūpa-śīla-guṇāśrayām rūpa-śīla-guṇāśrayām kṛṣṇaś sadṛśīṁ bhāryāṁ kṛṣṇaś sadṛśīṁ bhāryāṁ samudvoḍhuṁ mano dadhe samudvoḍhuṁ mano dadhe tang buddhi-lakṣaṇaudārya rūpa-śīla-guṇāśrayām kṛṣṇaś sadṛśīṁ bhāryāṁ samudvoḍhuṁ mano dadhe. Tang buddhi-lakṣaṇaudārya rūpa-śīla-guṇāśrayām kṛṣṇaś sadṛśīṁ bhāryāṁ samudvoḍhuṁ mano dadhe. kṛṣṇaś sadṛśīṁ bhāryāṁ samudvoḍhuṁ mano dadhe. Tang buddhi-lakṣaṇaudārya rūpa-śīla-guṇāśrayām kṛṣṇaś sadṛśīṁ bhāryāṁ samudvoḍhuṁ mano dadhe. Ladies? Tang buddhi-lakṣaṇaudārya rūpa-śīla-guṇāśrayām kṛṣṇaś sadṛśīṁ bhāryāṁ samudvoḍhuṁ mano dadhe. Tang buddhi-lakṣaṇaudārya rūpa-śīla-guṇāśrayām kṛṣṇaś sadṛśīṁ bhāryāṁ samudvoḍhuṁ mano dadhe. Tang buddhi-lakṣaṇaudārya rūpa-śīla-guṇāśrayām kṛṣṇaś sadṛśīṁ bhāryāṁ samudvoḍhuṁ mano dadhe. Word meanings? Or anyone else? Word meanings. Tam, her. Buddhi, of intelligence. Lakṣaṇa, auspicious bodily markings. Audārya, magnanimity. Rupa, beauty. Śīla, proper behavior. Guṇa, and other personal qualities. Āśrayām, repository. kṛṣṇaḥ, Lord Kṛṣṇa, cha, and sadṛśīṁ, suitable, bhāryāṁ, wife, samudvoḍhuṁ, to marry, manaḥ, his mind, dadhe, made up. Translation. Lord Kṛṣṇa knew that Rukmiṇī possessed intelligence, auspicious bodily markings, beauty, proper behavior, and all other good qualities. Concluding that she would be an ideal wife for him, he made up his mind to marry her. Please repeat. Lord Kṛṣṇa knew that Rukmiṇī possessed intelligence, auspicious bodily markings, beauty, proper behavior, and all other good qualities. Concluding that she would be an ideal wife for him, he made up his mind to marry her. Purport. Just as Lord Kṛṣṇa was described as sadṛśaṁ patim, an ideal husband for Rukmiṇī, being just like her, Rukmiṇī is described as sadṛśīṁ bhāryāṁ, an ideal wife for Śrī Kṛṣṇa, being just like him. That is natural, since Śrīmatī Rukmiṇī is Lord Kṛṣṇa's internal potency. Now I'll just read the other verses for today, and we can just, without responding, we can repeat what I say. Bandhunam icchatāṁ dātum Kṛṣṇāya bhaginim nripa tato nivarya Kṛṣṇa dvid Rukmi chaityam amanyata. Because Rukmi envied the Lord, O king, he forbade his family members to give his sister to Kṛṣṇa, although they wanted to. Instead, Rukmi decided to give Rukmiṇī to Shishupal. Purport. Rukmi abused his position as elder brother and acted with impure motives. He would only suffer for his decision. Text 26. Tad abetyasita pangi Vaidarbhi durmana brisham Vichintyaptang dvijang kanchit Kṛṣṇāya prahinodrutam. Dark-eyed Vaidarbhi was aware of this plan, and it deeply upset her. Analyzing the situation, she quickly sent a trustworthy brahmana to Kṛṣṇa. Dvarakang sasamabhyetya pratiharai praveshitaha apashyadadyang purusham asinang kanchanasane. Translation. Upon reaching Dwaraka, the brahmana was brought inside by the gatekeepers and saw the primeval personality of Godhead sitting on a golden throne. 28. Drishtva brahmanya devastam avaruhya nijasanat upaveshyarhayang chakre yatatmanang divaukashaha. Seeing the Brahmana, Śrī Kṛṣṇa, Lord of the Brahmanas, came down from his throne and seated him. Then the Lord worshipped him, just as he himself is worshipped by the demigods. 29. Tang bhuktavantang vishrantam upaganyam upagamya satangatihi panina bhimrishang padav avyagrastam apricchata. After the Brahmana had eaten and rested, Śrī Kṛṣṇa, the goal of saintly devotees, came forward, and while massaging the Brahmana's feet with his own hands, he patiently questioned him as follows. Text 30. Kachid dvijavara shrishta dharmaste vrita sammataha Vartate nati kritrena santushta manasak sada. Translation. The Supreme Lord said, O best of exalted brahmanas, are your religious practices, sanctioned by senior authorities, proceeding without great difficulty? Is your mind always fully satisfied? Purport. Here we have translated the word dharma as religious practice, although this does not fully convey the Sanskrit sense of the word. Kṛṣṇa did not appear within a secular society. The people in Vedic times could hardly imagine a society that did not understand the need to obey God's law. Thus, to them, the word dharma conveyed a sense of duty in general, higher principles, prescribed duty, and so on. It was automatically understood that such duties were within a religious context. But religion in those days was not a specific aspect or department of life, but rather a guiding light for all activities. Irreligious life was considered demoniac, and God's hand was seen in everything. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Miditang Yena Tasmai Śrī Gurave Namaha Śrī Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitang Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Śrī Guru Śrī Yuta Padakamalam Śrī Gurun Vaishnavangscha Śrī Rūpaṁ Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitang Tang Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Śrī Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Śrī Vishakhan Vitang Cha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Śrī Kṛṣṇa Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara, Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Rama Hare Hare. I ask for your blessings. It's so nice to be here in Vrindavan and to be able to be associated with so many nice devotees and to be able to discuss Lord Kṛṣṇa and Srimad Bhagavatam. We mentioned yesterday how Rukmiṇī, the daughter of King Vidarbha, had just heard about Kṛṣṇa in the palace, and just by hearing about him, she knew that she wanted to marry him, and that he was meant for her, that he was just suitable for her. Of course, they're eternal associates, and Rukmiṇī, in the Krishna Loka, in his unmanifested aprakata lila, there's divisions, departments of Dwarka and Mathura, and then the sweetest abode of all here, Sri Vrindavan Dham, in the spiritual world, where Kṛṣṇa expands his yoga maya so that he himself becomes subordinate to the love of his special devotees there. So Rukmiṇī is the queen of Dwarka, and but when we hear that about how she first got his darshan from hearing about him and then later got to meet him face to face, we should remember that's the mission of the Hare Krishna movement, is to broadcast the glories of Kṛṣṇa to the conditioned souls who are suffering in this material world of birth and death. And when they hear about Kṛṣṇa, we can begin to get his darshan, and eventually we'll see him face to face. like this Brahmana, a messenger, got to come to Dwarka and then see Krishna face to face, the Supreme Personality of Godhead seated on a golden throne. Someday we can achieve that goal of all living entities. So, of course, Rukmiṇī was destined to marry Krishna. Krishna was destined to marry Rukmiṇī, and he knew. But Rukmiṇī, well, he was averse to Krishna. He had become envious. You know, King Kamsa was a very powerful demon, and he had many, many allies, and he had sort of taken over the earth. The demigods had to come to pray for Krishna to come relieve the earth of these demons. And one of his allies was Jarasandha. Kamsa had 2 wives that were daughters of Jarasandha. And when Krishna killed Kamsa, the daughters, they didn't have any sons to take care of them. They went back to live with their father in very distressed condition. Krishna had killed their husband, Jarasandha's ally and friend. And being a typical demon, these self-centered, narcissistic people who only think about themselves and try to become the rulers of the universe, Jarasandha immediately thought, I will kill the entire Yadu dynasty. This Krishna upstart and Balaram, I will kill them and all their relatives. So, when I was in Vancouver, Bahudak Prabhu was the temple president. He would always say, Shishupal. The Rukmiṇī was meant for Krishna, like a lion, but the jackal Shishupal was Rukmi was planning to marry her to this envious Shishupal, who of course was one of the 2 gatekeepers who had been cursed to be inimical to Krishna. So Rukmi had that plan, which of course distressed Rukmiṇī very much because she loved Krishna so much. And so she engaged this Brahmana to take a message to Krishna. Now, it's interesting to see how here, where am I? I lost my place. The Brahmana was so nicely received by Lord Kṛṣṇa. Krishna in Dwarka, this is the very beginning of Dwarka Leela. Krishna had just, Kalyavana was attacking from the south, and Jarasandha had again assembled another 13 Akshahinis to come attack Mathura, and Krishna decided to erect this fort, this wonderful, magnificent, astonishing fortress in the ocean. How many? 90-something square mile fort. And he put, when Krishna killed Kamsa, he didn't himself take the throne. He's completely, fully satisfied. He put Ugrasena on the back, restored Ugrasena, whose position had been usurped by Kamsa. And now in Dwarka, Krishna built a very nice house for King Ugrasena, the nicest of all the palaces. There were many, many palaces there. They say in the Bible, there's a verse that says, in my Father's house there are many mansions. And everyone takes this metaphorically. But we can also say, yes, there's actually 900,000 palaces, right? 900,000 palaces. No, there's more. There's 16,108 wives, and they each have a palace, but others have palaces too. There's actually 900,000 palaces in Dwarka, in that place. And all the palaces are full of astonishing jewels and gold and silver, and there's big silver and gold tanks where they keep grains, and it's the most opulence there. Lord Chaitanya has taught us that this sense of Krishna's majesty, it weakens the love, that the strongest love is among the very sweet pastimes in Vrindavan. But the pastimes in Dwarka are still completely transcendental, even though that... and that mood of conjugal rasa is also there, although it's the parakiya rasa. I mean, it's the swakiya rasa, not the parakiya rasa that's available in Vrindavan. So, I mean, we were hearing yesterday that even the Supreme Personality of Godhead gets married. Krishna teaches the religious principles. He has established religious principles in the world to help people become elevated. He's given us this material world in which people can become degraded or they can become elevated according to their choice. But he wants them to become elevated. And he's given the principles in which they can do that. And he teaches that even by his own example. In Bhagavad Gita, in the 3rd chapter, recall he says that yad yadacharati shreshtas tat tad sayat pramanam kurute lokas tad anuvartate. So name partasti kartavyam. He doesn't have anything to do. Trishu lokeshu kinchana. In the 3 worlds, there's no duty prescribed for Krishna. He makes the duties. But he says that he follows them anyway. Name partasti kartavyam trishu lokeshu kinchana. Nana vartam avartavyam. Varta eva chakarmani. Yadi hyahang navartayam. Jatu tishtat titandriya. Tata utside yormi. No. Jatu tishtat titandriya. Utside yormi lokam. Anyway, that's the next verse. He says that if I didn't do it, then everyone would. Mama vart manu vartante manushya partha sarvasha. Everyone would follow my example. Utside yori me lokam. That Shankarasya chakarta sam. Iti upahamyam ima prajaha. People would not follow these principles of marriage, for example. They would, like animals don't have to follow these principles. Well, there's principles in nature that automatically animals follow. But Krishna follows the proper principle. Of course, Krishna married 16,108 wives. But we heard yesterday that Lord Balaram only took 1 wife. Lord Ramachandra only took 1 wife. So Krishna was doing something else to display this opulence of being able to marry so many women. But he still followed all the regulative principles, you know, as an ideal king. Lord Ramachandra, everyone knows, is the ideal king and very chivalrous. But Lord Ramachandra is also a partial manifestation of Lord Kṛṣṇa, and he has all those wonderful qualities. So every morning we hear about his daily activities, that he rises early in the morning and he gets out of bed, even though he has a beautiful wife next to him who doesn't want him to leave. As soon as the rooster crows, he's up and takes his bath, and he's chanting and meditating. Of course, Krishna meditates different. We meditate on Krishna. Krishna also meditates on Krishna, because there's nothing beyond Krishna to meditate on. And then he gives charity to brahmanas and has a fire sacrifice. So many things he does every day following these regulative principles for pure human life. Of course, in this age, it may be difficult to follow all these principles. We have more. We can chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, right? Kaler dosha nidhe rajan astiheka mahadgunan kirtanadeva krishnasya mukta sangha parang vrajet. So to actually have a fire sacrifice every morning and give so much charity, who can give that much charity to brahmanas? But Krishna is setting the example and showing how to worship the brahmanas. You remember how when Sudama Brahmana came to see him, how Krishna received him, of course his friend from Gurukula. But here, this messenger Brahmana from Rukmiṇī, Krishna, without even knowing what his business, of course Krishna knows, but he sees a Brahmana, he gets down from his throne, and of course the Brahmana is beholding the personality of Godhead himself, you know. But Krishna is showing an example of how he worships the brahmanas, how exalted it is in society. Society needs people who are situated in the mode of goodness. And actually to get the darshan of Krishna, one has to be situated in the mode of pure goodness, Vishuddha Sattva. So we can chant Hare Krishna and we can get the grace of a spiritual master, of a pure devotee of Krishna. This is how one becomes a Vaishnava, becomes a devotee of Krishna. But still, we have these anarthas and dirty things that prevent us in different ways, distract us, or make us want to feel sleepy when we're chanting, or or just some kind of aversion to surrendering to Krishna, these different things. We have to get cleaned up. We have to become suchi. We have to become pure. Like this Brahmana that Rukmiṇī sent, he was perfectly pure, so he could see Krishna directly, face to face. So we need to, follow these principles that are given to us to be able to be pure like that, and also fulfill a role in society. That Srila Prabhupada, actually Bhaktisiddhanta, I should say, this is a leap year. There's 29 days this month, and the last day is the 150th anniversary of the appearance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And he wanted to establish Daivi Varnashram Dharma. He also wanted to preach the message of Krishna, and he sent Prabhupada to preach the message of Krishna in the Mleccha countries also. But he wanted to establish this Daivi Varnashram Dharma, which is Vaishnava Varnashram Dharma. It's not for privileged people to exploit weaker people. It's not to make divisions in society for hypocrites to pretend to be pure. He was very strong about it. And he actually, one time Mahatma Gandhi was considering untouchability. And he had written 10 questions, and he asked pundits to come and, based on Shastra and everything, explain these questions about untouchability and whether it's there in the Shastra, and what does it mean, and how should it be treated, and so forth. And actually, Gandhi then, after listening to what they had to say, he just said, "I reject the Shastras. This untouchability is to injustice, and even if it's there, I don't respect it." But Bhaktisiddhanta wrote, I was reading yesterday in the wonderful book that Bhakti-Vikas Swami had written, Bhaktisiddhanta Vaibhava. In volume 3 there are some writings of Bhaktisiddhanta and so forth. And he wrote the answers to the 10 questions. And he said, untouchability means anyone who is averse to Krishna, that is untouchable, it's despicable, and we don't want anything to do with it. But he said that anyone can be trained. Just like we were hearing this morning, Prabhupada had said in Mexico, that little child doesn't have bad habits, but by bad association he acquires these bad habits. Of course, there may be some karma from previous lives, some impulses toward bad habits, but by the right association, anyone can be trained to become an actual Vaishnava, an actual Brahmana, and better than that, to become a Vaishnava. Devahuti, aho bata swapacha to gariyan yad vartate namatu bhyam te pustapaste juhuvukshashorarya brahmanuchur nama grinantiyete. So those who are actually accustomed to taking Krishna's names, they're already past all of the principles of the non-Vaishnava Varnashram society. That they're all better than the non-Vaishnava Brahmins. But these qualities, the qualities of Brahmanas, become manifest automatically in the hearts of pure devotees. We say automatically, it doesn't mean we shouldn't actually try. It's Prabhupada actually, when he gave Brahman initiation to some disciples, he actually asked them to memorize this qualities of Brahmanas from chapter 18, verse 42 of Bhagavad Gita. Samo dhamma tapakshocham kshanti rarjavam jnana vijnana astikyam. And he said, you have to promise me that you will develop these qualities. He actually did that. Because the point was to actually make Brahmanas who are capable of describing Krishna to people. Just like Rukmiṇī heard in the palace, we should be out there distributing Prabhupada's books and describing Krishna. So we have to have these qualities: peacefulness, tolerance. If one sees, panditak samadarshana, if one really sees, what's the verse? No, not that verse, not vidya vinaya sampane. I'm thinking of after 434, tadvidhi pranipatena, then he says, yaj gyatva napunar moham. Yeah, he says, what does he say? Yena bhutani yasheshani drakṣasyatmanyatomai. If we see all living entities are Krishna's property, they're sparks of Krishna, they belong to Krishna. If we have that vision, then we can easily be very forgiving and tolerant, understanding that modes of material nature may be causing people to act inimically to us, but they're not our enemies. They're just spirit souls that have been unfortunately conditioned. We can be very forgiving. We can be very peaceful of mind. Control of the senses. Control is important. By chanting Hare Krishna, we can automatically, our senses, and I say automatically, but we should take some effort also. But we shouldn't think that there's some other process that we can acquire these qualities by. Yasyasti bhakti bhagavati kinchana sarvaya gunastatra samasate suraha harav abhaktasya kuto mahadgunan manorate nasati dhavato bahi. Prahlad Maharaj is praying that those who actually are devotees, they develop automatically, they display all the qualities of demigods. Automatically. In the 12th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about the wonderful qualities of people who are his devotees, that they're tolerant, that they're detached from material enjoyment and family life, that they are devoted to Krishna, that they never cause distress to any living entity unnecessarily. They're very compassionate, right? Samoddamas tapak, austerity, rising early in the morning, taking bath. Shuchi, cleanliness, is so important to one who wants to approach Krishna. And rising early is an austerity. Rising early and chanting the holy names, even if your mind doesn't want to. Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said we have to beat our mind 100 times with shoes in the morning and 100 times with broomstick at night before we go to bed. This a little austerity is required. It's actually not difficult austerity. We're not torturing the body. Krishna in the 17th chapter says that demons, they perform austerity that way, that they torture the super soul within their own heart. We're not laying on beds of nails and, doing horrible things. Fasting until we just skin and bones, and but it's very pleasing life. This life that Prabhupada gave us is a very pleasing life. To get up early in the morning is very nice. It's the best time of day. What's time of night for all beings is the time of awakening for the self-realized, the introspective sages. When you see, as a devotee, you get up in the morning and you're chanting and you're feeling bliss, and then you see the drunkards are coming home from the nightclubs, and they're looking for illicit sex, and it's just very lower modes of nature. So these bad habits, intoxication, gambling, meat eating, they cause us to be absorbed in lower modes of nature rather than sattva guna. And the brahmanas are the emblem of sattva guna. And the sattva guna is illuminating, it's better than the other modes. And so this is important for us to do. If we want to chant Hare Krishna correctly, we should become brahmanas. We should become fixed in sattva guna. So these qualities of brahmanas, in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, King Yudhishthira asks Narada Muni about the divisions of life and the principles of civilized human society. Hare Krishna. And Narada Muni, of course, he refers to Lord Narayana. Narayana Rishi. Narayana is the source of all the principles of religion. And he first mentions there are 30 qualities. And these qualities of brahmanas are included in those 30 qualities that he describes of just to be a human being. You have to have those 30 qualities. We know Srila Prabhupada said that 50% of his mission was to establish varnashram dharma in society. It seems like, how there's such a big world full of very much, people are very, very much in the modes of ignorance and passion and not very interested. And in fact, when they hear about a caste system, they immediately think of injustices and when they hear also about chaste Vedic wives and their relations with husbands, they think about mistreatment, actually, and how to establish it. I want to just convey one thing I heard from Kalakanta Prabhu. I see a devotee here from Krishna House. Kalakanta Prabhu has developed a program for preaching in the United States and maybe in other countries too now, in the West, where university students come and they live together as devotees and they practice Krishna consciousness together. And they might not go to Mangalarti at 4:30, they go to at 6:30. You could tell better. But one time he was going to give a presentation in Silicon Valley when I was there, and he came to someone's house, and for some reason the projection equipment wasn't working, so while the Silicon Valley engineers were figuring out how to put on to display his slideshow, he just asked us to talk about things, and I asked him about Krishna House, and he was describing the system and how it was a very nice system, and people can go to college and be still in good association of devotees. And when I went to college, I couldn't associate with devotees. All my associates, the students and everything, were eating pepperoni pizza and drinking beer next to me, and it was very distracting and disturbing, And I started calling them demons, and they got mad at me. But they were my friends still. I was in Maya. I made friends with these untouchables. But Kalakanta, in the course of explaining it, he said one thing we've discovered is that the girls and boys, there can't be even a whiff of that they're second-class citizens, that the girls are different. Everybody is treated equal. It's very important that everyone is given complete respect, and not that they're being told that you're lower or you're in a lower position. And one of the devotees there questioned, but what about Varnashram Dharma? Don't we have to establish the hierarchy, the lower and higher, superiors and subordinates? And he said, 50% of Prabhupada's mission was Varnashram Dharma. And Kalakanta Prabhu said, yes, that's the part. He said that I'm leaving that to my disciples. Now you have to do that. I haven't finished that. And he said that I'm trying to do that, and I've discovered that to do that in the universities, we can't have even a whiff of putting the people in a lower position. Because Vaishnavism isn't like that. If you read the Uddhava Gita, when Krishna is describing pure devotional service, he says the devotees, they bow down to dogs. He actually says that. You bow down to, you have respect for everyone. You see that Krishna, the pure devotees, Uttama Adhikaris, they can see Krishna in everything. And they're willing to, not that they would organize society like make the dog the president or something, which in America we've done sometimes, but still, that you have that in your heart, that vidya vinaya sampane brahmane gavihastani shuni chaiva supakicha pandatak samadarshana. That's a basic platform. And then, of course, you need hierarchies in society. You need a boss. You need to get things done. You're not going to do everything if everyone is saying, no, why should I listen to you? Why should no? This has to be order in society. And there, in the Vedic society, the top of society are those who actually are fully acquainted with the absolute truth. There are non-Vaishnava brahmanas. They might want to merge with the absolute truth, but at least they have some understanding of the difference between spirit and matter and the perception of the evils of samsara. And but we don't want that kind of Varnashram Dharma. We want Vaishnava Varnashram Dharma. That's what we're being taught. One time, Bhaktisiddhanta, thinking of Bhaktisiddhanta, I also read this other pastime that when he came to Vrindavan, there was some priest who was from high caste Brahmin family, and he was saying, well, Raghunath Das Thakur, Raghunath Das Goswami, he wasn't from a Brahmin family, so I can give him blessings. It's appropriate that I give him blessings. So when Bhaktisiddhanta heard that, he was very disturbed. He said, why do I have to hear this? And he stopped eating, and all his disciples began fasting. And then, after some time, that priest became contrite, and he came and begged forgiveness for making such an offense to the greatest spiritual master, Raghunath Das Goswami. So how to establish, re-establish the principles of religion in a society in Kali Yuga that's gone crazy and is being governed by this is very difficult. But we have to at least get people the opportunity to come to the human platform. So Srila Prabhupada came and chanted Hare Krishna and engaged us in chanting Hare Krishna. And then he engaged us in initiation into the Maha Mantra, and then the Diksha, Mantra Diksha, into spiritual initiation to teach these principles, because Bhaktisiddhanta noted that society needs brahmanas. In an emergency, according to Narada Muni, who's teaching in the 7th canto, in an emergency anybody can do what the service that's required of others. The service of brahmanas is patana, patana, yajana, pratigraha, dana. So they study the Vedas, then they teach what they've learned. They worship the deity. You have to be a Brahmin to worship the deity. In our ISKCON, you can't go on the altar if you're not Suchi. You have to be initiated to be able to do that. So, and then they teach others. They engage their disciples to worship. Yuktasya bhaktangs chanayunjatopi. So then, pratigraha, they accept charity. Well, to accept charity, you have to actually have the qualifications to accept charity also. Not that you accept charity and then waste it in some abominable sense enjoyment or something. But if you become a qualified brahmana, then people get benefit. Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita that to give charity properly, you have to give it in a suitable place at a suitable time to a suitable person. So brahmanas are there to receive charity. And then with the charity that they get, dana, they also learn how to give charity properly, like that. So this work is actually required in society. Knowledge of Krishna, knowledge of spirit, knowledge of our relationship with Krishna, knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita is very, very important. So we're distributing this Krishna book. We can hear about the relation of Krishna and Rukmiṇī. But there's one wonderful chapter about Krishna's talking with Rukmiṇī. I won't go into that because we're getting to the end of the class. But we should distribute widely Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita. Other people read Bhagavad Gita translated by others, or even not translated by others. People read, or they translate it in Hindi, other things. I was once at a Hindu Mandir Executives Conference in North America, and Vaisheshika asked me to speak about how Motel Gita is distributing Bhagavad Gita, putting them in the rooms. People are accustomed to the Gideons. They put Bibles in the hotel rooms, in the desk drawers by the bed and things like that. But now people will also find Bhagavad Gitas there. And by Krishna's arrangement, most of the motels in the United States are owned by Gujarati devotees of Krishna. And they're a little concerned, well, maybe people will mistreat the Bhagavad Gita, but their glowing experience when we put the Gitas in their people's hotel rooms is that the Westerners come up to them and say, oh, can I keep this? I really love it, and things. So they're having very good experience. So I was at a breakout session in this conference, and I was speaking about the importance of putting Bhagavad Gitas in the hotel rooms, and someone asked me what Gita, and I said, well, we put Srila Prabhupada's Gita because it's, it's in line of disciplic succession, and it actually has faith that in Krishna as the supreme person and not just some manifestation of material energy, but he's actually the original supreme person, and it has the proper understanding. When Krishna says, surrender to me, he means to himself, the person, and not to something, and I started speaking like that. So one man raised his hand, and he came up, and he said, I'm a doctor, and I've been studying Bhagavad Gita all my life. When I read Prabhupada's Gita, it was the first time I understood it. It becomes crystal clear. And other people often they teach away, or because they've been influenced by Mayavadi philosophy and other things, they teach away from the meaning. Some people think of the Bhagavad Gita as an opportunity to express their own philosophy. It's become a common thing. One Western scholar wrote a book about the Bhagavad Gita, and he talked about Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, but he talked about others too, Aurobindo and this and that, and Gandhi and so forth. But he said, the important thing of the Bhagavad Gita is that everyone can express their own philosophy in different ways. And it's like, no, this is Krishna's philosophy, Krishna's teaching. So we must distribute this Bhagavad Gita and teach people about Krishna and make them want to get Krishna's darshan, and then they can become brahmanas, and then they can achieve Vishuddha Sattva, get rid of all their anarthas, and then they can see Krishna there in Dwarka sitting on a golden throne and get to see him face to face, and their life is perfect. Hare Krishna. So let's have some discussion. We have a little time, right? Hare Krishna from Krishna House. I forgot your name, Prabhu. What is your name?
Brihat Mridanga.
Brihat Mridanga. You told me yesterday. I'm old and I can't remember things.
Thank you for the wonderful class, Prabhu.
Oh, thank you. Hare Krishna.
So, devotees in America, many are shocked to hear that there are not brahmacharya ashrams in India, and then many devotees in India are shocked to hear that there are brahmacharya ashrams. I mean, I'm making big generalizations.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big difference in thinking, and this is just one issue. There's other very different ways of application of Krishna consciousness in different countries. And an aspect of Brahminical intelligence is to be able to accommodate different opposing views. So I'm hoping you can shed some light on how devotees can develop, how I can develop this intelligence to accommodate opposing viewpoints.
Well, Prabhupada is the Acharya. I mean, to accommodate all these things, may be very difficult, but we can see that Prabhupada, he came. In fact, some of his godbrothers were surprised when he brought devotees back. They said, oh, how can you associate with these mlechas? And there was one time when someone didn't want to eat what Malati cooked. And then Prabhupada said, she would slit her throat for me, and I would slit my throat for her. But Prabhupada was the Acharya. He came to America, and he preached in a certain way. And some people think, well, Prabhupada preached that way in the beginning, because he had to, but now that the movement started, we should try to reestablish Indian-style social system or something. Well, Indian-style social system still has some relationship to Vedic social system. I mean, we can't say it's, although Prabhupada mentioned that the caste system was vitiated and things. But to preach throughout the world, we have to be sensitive. That's one of the qualities of people in the mode of goodness, that they can not just be absorbed in their own ideas, but they can be sensitive to the needs and concerns and understand where other people are coming from. Madhyama Adhikari, to preach, he has to be able to see the progress of the other person, and not just spout, my guru says this or what, but be able to, a sign of realization is described, that one should be able to explain the transcendental knowledge in such a way that that's suitable for the audience to understand it. So we have experience not just in the Western countries, but in Kali Yuga in general. I mean, even King Parikshit saw a low-class person dressed up like a king and torturing a bull. And this is the world that we're in now, is that people are not kind to each other. People are selfish, and because they're moved by passion and ignorance, they're lusty and greedy, and there's a lot of demoniac energy out there. I can't find where it is, but it's said that in Satya Yuga, demons and devotees were on different planets, and in Treta Yuga they were in different dynasties or different countries, in Lanka, and Rama had come to there. And then in Dwapara Yuga they were in the same family, like we had the fratricidal war of the Mahabharata. And then in Kali Yuga they're in the same bodies. They're in the same person. So So we have to be able to adjust to, and we have to be very sensitive that people are frustrated with injustice, racial prejudice, caste prejudice, can be, I mean, I know friends that say, oh, in the West we hear all about this stuff, but it doesn't really happen so much. I've heard different sides of these things. But nobody should be mistreated. Nobody should be, because you're in a lower position, I can hurt you and be callous to your suffering. That's not what a Brahmana behaves like. And so many good-hearted people, I was trying to start a Hare Krishna club on the Berkeley campus one time, and I had to get 4 students to sign. So I had this nice hippie yoga couple that was going to help me. And then when it was day to sign, especially the girl didn't want to sign, didn't want to join the help. And why? Because Hare Krishnas are homophobic, right? They had this idea. And I tried to explain, we are practicing yoga, we're celibate, we only use sex for procreation, but we don't hate anybody. Oh no, I know you Hare Krishnas, I heard some Hare Krishnas say that homosexuals are demons, and so people, especially in America right now, maybe not just America, Europe, other things, they call it cancel culture, that if one person says one thing, then they lose their job, and people are trying to be morally upright, actually, and this is the way they're expressing themselves. They don't want someone to be mistreated because of the category they're in or the particular thing they're in. And we have to be sensitive to that as preachers and understand that really, yena bhutanya sheshani, really we're all the soul, we all have super soul in our heart, and we're all spirit souls, and everyone really wants to see Krishna. And if they hear about Krishna, they'll want to marry Krishna. And then we have to give them that chance with that. So we have to be very sensitive and be careful not to turn people away and turn people off. So preachers have to be Madhyama Adhikaris that can see that. Prabhupada was like that. So Prabhupada, sometimes I hear people say, well, and maybe in some circumstances like deity worship or something, there may be some differences, but I hear people say, oh, Prabhupada came and he spoke and he behaved in a certain way because it was the very beginning, but now we have to increase the standard and we have to change things. And I think, no, it's not like we've converted the whole world to Krishna consciousness yet. We still are preaching in Western countries, and we should follow Prabhupada's example. He was the one that was able to do it correctly. He was the one that was able to succeed where others had failed, because he knew how to approach people humbly and to explain Krishna consciousness without offending their sensibilities, because he was radiating Krishna consciousness from his heart. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
A very well balanced, broad vision. There's the principle, there's form and substance. Prabhupada's genius was that he was able to take the substance, the siddhanta, the truth about Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the system of Bhakti Yoga, but he could adapt certain aspects to make it more accessible, from the youth of America, etc. So that was Prabhupada's genius. But that requires a lot of, buddhi, higher intelligence to know you don't change the substance, but somehow you adapt it to make it more accessible. The form can be adjusted without changing the substance.
Right.
And that's the whole dilemma. Now, where is the substance accessible? If you change the form all the time, then you lose some of the substance.
I've heard this principle explained in many ways by different, even by one Sikh guru I heard, but Akruranath Swami has explained it in one way that, the form, all your mantras and tantras and mudras and pujas are like a vessel in which you're delivering something, the substance, which is bhakti, to Krishna for his enjoyment. And he only takes like the sweet saffron milk that's in this vessel. But if you have a thing with no milk in it, then it's not going to please Krishna, And if you could somehow deliver it, but nevertheless, these forms that were given in the Vedas, they help us actually. Like we can't say, like for example, Prabhupada was insistent, 4 regulative principles, become initiated, follow 4 regulative principles. Other gurus, other yogis and things who would come, there was one who was very popular and he said, this is not a religion, this is just if you spend 15 minutes, meditating on this mantra, then you can get better grades and you'll be more successful in life and so forth. But Prabhupada was giving this real substance, and he was also giving some of the form that was necessary, because if you're trying to practice Krishna consciousness and you're also, even if you're not drinking alcohol and things, like Bhaktisiddhanta taught that you have to get a dry firewood to build a fire, So if you're getting too much sense gratification, if you're watching television and eating in restaurants and whatever, you're not going to be able to ignite that Krishna rati in your heart, and you won't be so eager when you hear that someone's giving Bhagavatam class. You might think, yeah, but there's a football game, whatever. So anyway, sorry. Go ahead. It's the Super Bowl today, I think. Actually, Kansas City versus San Francisco.
Are you betting on someone?
I think it's today. I don't know. Monday. Oh, okay. They don't have a Super Sunday anymore?
They do, but Super Bowl's Monday.
Okay. I don't know these things. I don't know cricket either, so at least I really don't know that.
There's that whole phenomenon of sports. People get so wound up. Here in India, it's cricket. Yeah? Cricket. People talk about it, day and night, Shravanam, Kirtanam, cricket, In America, it's football and sometimes baseball, but mostly football is the big thing. They want to get excited. They want to spice up their life, get something to look up to, It's very weird.
Krishna does wonderful things. He wrestles with Chanura and Mushtika. So it originates in Krishna. People want to see a spectacle. When I was a new devotee, the hippies, a lot of times they would say, Krishna's killing people and he's killing demons. And, when he kills Jarasanda's armies, there's rivers of blood and things. This is violent. I don't want my children to hear about this. But when Krishna does it, it's wonderful. And what do? The same people, what movies are they watching? And what books and novels are they reading? It's all about spies that are shooting each other and stuff like that. But the spectacle of sports, it's attractive because we like to see physical prowess and things like that. It all originates in Krishna, who's doing it much better.
Hero worship. Everyone needs a hero.
Yeah, Krishna is the original hero. Right, exactly. Okay. And then I think it's getting late. Maybe one more or anything else? No. We should stop. All right. Hare Krishna. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Akruranath Prabhu ki.
Oh, thank you.
You learned something in college?
I learned. Thank you.